Hey guys, welcome back to another very exciting cleaning. If this is your first time watching these, then welcome back. We are kicking off a really fun series where I show you how I deep clean, organize, and declutter areas of my home. In the past, we tackled the laundry room as well as the kitchen, and today we are going to be tackling the main room in the house, which is my husband and I's. Now, this room doesn't necessarily need decluttering, but it did need a lot of help because we've all recently gotten over a weird, crazy bug that was going around, and we were sick for a solid 2 weeks. And now that I'm feeling a little better, I am happy to be getting back into it because it definitely needed it. So if you are new here, welcome. And if you are a return viewer, thank you so much for coming back. I hope you guys keep enjoying this series, and let's get to it. Another thing that I want to bring up, especially if you're new here, I actually have an Instagram account called Home.Cleaningtips where I teach people how to manage their home while dealing with depression, anxiety, and or ADHD. And if you're wondering, yes, I actually have the unfortunate fact of dealing with all three. Now, my depression and my anxiety came from postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety after giving birth to my first child roughly 7 years ago. My depression has eased off and it has been better, but I have done therapy and I was on medication for the first few years. As of lately, I've been able to just kind of manage it in a more positive way after therapy without needing medication. So I'm very happy to finally feel a little more like myself. For my anxiety, it is a bit different. There are different triggers I've noticed that are not necessarily environmental, but more so with my own health. And so those are things that I'm still dealing with. And as of recently, I did get diagnosed with ADHD. Now, it was a little bit of a shock, but maybe because what I would consider the typical symptoms of ADHD were not necessarily true to me, with some exceptions. And originally, the thought that I had of what ADHD was is what most people portray on TV: hyperactiveness and unattentiveness. Now, I do show unattentiveness depending on the day and how hectic things are. That definitely is something that happens. But my ADHD actually displays itself in frontal lobe damage, where it's like my memory is not the best. Another thing that I also deal with when it comes to ADHD is not being able to sit down. So while it is not necessarily hyperactiveness, I don't feel comfortable sitting down to like watch a movie or watch a show. I tend to be doing something other than just sitting down, which I used to think it was very normal, that I was just trying to be productive. And my therapist explained that no, indeed, that is not normal. That somebody who is continuously looking to be busy and does multiple things at the same time for long periods of time that are not necessarily your job or it's supposed to be your rest time, that can be a sign of ADHD. So I've had to learn a few things, a few tricks, and manage my life a little different than most other people who are possibly not dealing with depression, anxiety, and or ADHD. So I've decided, obviously, to treat this as a way of learning as I go, but also sharing what I learned, because I know there's so many of you who could be dealing with this and would really love some sort of guidance. One of the methods that I like to teach everyone when managing their home, any area in their home, is to clean in zones. And the way we start pretty much figuring that out is we designate one zone to each day. For example, on Mondays, I clean my kitchen. On Tuesdays, I take care of the bedrooms. On Wednesdays, I do bathrooms. On Thursdays, we do living spaces like a living room or a hallway. And on Fridays, we do miscellaneous. Laundry, I do one load per day, and if it's really bad, then I attempt to do two. But I like to not surpass what I call the threshold of cleaning. And everyone is going to have a very different threshold. For example, my threshold is if I can't clean an area or a room or a zone in under 30 minutes, then it immediately has way too many things to manage. And you don't have to start getting rid of everything at once. I usually recommend that you clean that zone on a day and time yourself. How long did it take you? Was it an hour? Was it 2 hours? Was it half a day? That's where things get very complicated because we live very busy lives. You might have children that you take care of. You might have parents that you take care of. You may have a whole family that you are responsible for. Or if it's just you, you probably don't want to be stuck at home doing this all day long. And so it's important to set the boundary of how much time do you want to dedicate to your house. Now, there is a lot of people who have come to me and said, I love cleaning. It's my therapy. It makes me happy. And that's perfectly acceptable. But the reality is that for someone who has depression or anxiety or has ADHD, which deals with a lot of dysfunctions, it's really not fun. It's really not enjoyable, and it's not very therapeutic to us. And we must find ways to diminish that burden because taking care of our homes is important. It's an extension of you. It's something that must be maintained just like we maintain our bodies. And if you follow the one zone a day, I promise you, it'll feel less stressful and less daunting. Now, I will address some of the questions that I get about the one zone a day. For example, one of the questions that I get is, what about the dishes? Well, my answer has always been, dishes in, dishes out. We must have clean dishes to eat. And so dishes must be done daily. It's kind of like a lose-lose for some of us that really hate doing dishes. But in reality, it also should make you think of your threshold. Because yes, we should have a threshold and a boundary with our dishes. And one of the things I always teach people is, well, let's start off by thinking of how many people live in your house. More often than not, the average is about 4. And then I say, okay, how many dishes do you have? The typical answer will shock you, but more often than not, it's upwards of 20 dishes. That is not counting the mugs, the cups, the bowls, or anything like that. And that's where I red flag something. Now, I'm not saying you should be a minimalist and have one bowl, one plate, one cup, and one, piece of everything. No, absolutely not. That is almost really unreasonable for a family of 4. But you should have enough that you feel comfortable with having some dishes in the sink, but not too much to where you're running 3 full sizes of dishes. So, I want you to try the threshold method and the one zone a day method, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this something that you think would be doable at home, or do you think that it's too minimal for your house? Another question that I get often is, how do you declutter your house when you're dealing with depression? And I can tell you, and I'm going to be honest, it's not always perfect. So I take the small opportunities during my cleaning sessions to look at things in my house, in the room, and the zones that I'm working on, and slowly bring things out. My biggest recommendation for anybody who is going to be cleaning in zones and wants to declutter is to have a basket ready in that room. I tend to have baskets pretty much in all of the rooms in my house. And as I see things during my cleaning sessions, I place them in that basket. And at the end of the weekend, I gather them all up and I take them to the donations. Now, one thing that I like to tell people is that our things are not always donation ready. And that's just something that I've taught everyone over in my social media and Instagram, because there are things that probably should be thrown away for either safety reasons or hygiene reasons. So not everything is something you can donate. And so you can find lists online, and I can give you one below in the section where you can find something that would tell you that those are things you can donate. I always tell people that Goodwill or donation services are always open for that, but there's also a lot of pet shelters that will take your old towels or blankets. Those pets will absolutely love something new and warm to have. And if you have a lot of those and you're not using them, that's a great place to start. Now, one last question that is very popular that I also get is, how do I take care of my hygiene while dealing with depression? I had to learn a few tricks to make sure this was manageable and doable. I will be very honest, and it's a very vulnerable thing to share, especially out in the internet. When I was in the deepest part of depression and my anxiety, I had a really hard time showering. I had a hard time washing up, even brushing my hair. And my hair was falling because it was so damaged. And I was just in a really bad place. So please know that when I give you this next few advice, I know what you're going through. I've been there. And we can find some ways to make this work. So the first thing I did is I made things reachable. What do I mean? The more steps that you have to take in order to wash up, the least likely you are going to wash up, because it's daunting enough to get out of bed. Now imagine having to go to a different room to get your clothes, and then a different room to wash up and brush your teeth, and then a different area to get all your items. Most people have it like that, but when you have depression or even when you have ADHD, if things are not reachable and in your face, it ain't happening. So I love this vanity, and I was so excited to have this vanity because it truly has been a life changer. But even if you don't have a vanity, a place in your restroom should be the area where you have everything easily accessible. A lot of people get intimidated when they see a counter full of things, and that can get a little intimidating. But try having your top 3 or top 4 products that you must always use. That can be your toothbrush, toothpaste, your face wash, and body spray or deodorant. Those things should always be out and ready to be used, especially your toothbrush. Everything else that you desire to have is an add-on, but try having those easily accessible. Thank you so much again for joining me in this deep cleaning, organizing, and decluttering series. If you enjoyed this video, it would really mean a lot to me if you gave it a thumbs up. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe. This is the way that you get notified when I post new videos. And I do like to share one a week where I show you exactly how I do it, decluttering, cleaning, and organizing. I thank you guys so much for joining me again, and I truly appreciate all of the support. And I hope everybody knows that if you're dealing with something hard when it comes to your mental health, we are here, meaning me and the amazing group we've built on Instagram, to cheer you on and get you through this hardship. We will make it through. Until next time, bye.